ahead and start. What's that? Let's show up. Please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. We'll open at 9 o'clock. Mark, please lead us.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So, Melanie, any additions or deletions?
I do. I have 2 additions. I have a rescind the emergency declaration discussion and discuss nuisance ordinance and delete the upgrade door lock project.
Okay, thanks. We have an ordinance hearing at 10:10, so we can kind of go through some of our untimed items. We also have several presentations by Fairgrounds and Public Health. Neither of them are here quite yet, so we'll just go through some of the other things. Mr. Berman, would you like to come up and give a presentation on High Desert Electric? Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
As you guys all know, we've had continuing of nuisance in our sewer system downstairs, leaking, just old, it's decrepit. And we've been babying it for a lot of years. Well, we can't baby it no more because it's leaking, and when we fix it, it leaks. So we need to get it fixed yesterday, type deal. So what I did is we went out for a bid under Rule Section 6. Emergency has been declared that we need to do it now. So I didn't go out for the bid, but under Rule 6 of emergency, I don't have to. If it's a declared emergency, and it's been declared emergency back a year ago. So I just want to move forward. We want to get it fixed sooner than later. It's a health risk. It's just not healthy for all of us, and for especially my employees. My employees won't have to go clean it up every time it leaks. It's not healthy. So I got a bid with the High Desert Electric for $15,150 to get it fixed ASAP.
Is there a contract forthcoming on that?
Yes, it's our typical. Once you approve this, we'll sign the contract and I'll get it to you guys. It's just the normal formality of the contract we've always used when we've done stuff.
Any questions from the board on this?
So they're installing the grinder pump system.
Yeah,
There's places that are.
Yeah, it's just a whole new upgrade. It's easier to maintain where we don't have to stand on our head to fix anymore. It'll be by just pull the thing, pull the pump up, we can maintain it, fix it, and then dump it back. Now what we gotta do is we gotta literally upside down, get a wrench in there, and it's just gross.
Yeah.
It's time.
Now, we pulled that whole thing out last year.
Yeah, it's just disgusting, yeah. And when it does quit working and you got this much water in the Memorial Hall, you're trying to suck up so you don't ruin the floor, and it's not just water, it's
When I was in the juvenile department, it flooded into the offices.
yeah, Pam's office was just saturated for carpet. We had to go in there and pull everything out. It's just terrible.
Yeah, miserable.
And it's time. I mean, it's old. It's 50 years old. So
Right.
we definitely got our use out of it. But there is some things that I'm going to look at later down the road with that. I might divert the gel sewer going there and put it directly into the sewer system from the road out like it used to be. There's a little bit of history on it. Years ago, it didn't go to that grinder gel. It went straight to the sewer. Well, the way they designed it, there was nothing that was plugging up all the time because of the stuff that the inmates were putting in the sewer, and they'd plug up that elbow. So they thought, well, we got that grinder pump. It's not really even a grinder pump. I mean, it has a little bit of a grindage on it, but it's mainly just for the bathroom and the sewer system in the basement, what it was originally made for. Well, they diverted it, made it over here. So the gel stuff went into the grinder to help process it to get it out. Well, you start sticking inmate suits and apples and oranges and bags and all that stuff that they had to go to later years because of just health issues, you know,
Right.
the, what do you call it, not HIPAA, but the regulations of gels.
Yeah,
You have to wrap their food, you can't just hand it to them anymore.
Right.
And so when they're done, they water it up and throw it in the sewer. Well, pretty soon that grinder isn't gonna grind anymore, as you guys know, so.
We have 2 grinders right now, and we're looking at replacing those 2 grinders with
No,
2
we
more.
have one grinder. We have 2 motors to run those.
Okay, you have 1 grinder, just 2 motors. Gotcha. Okay. Is that, are we looking at a similar setup?
Yeah, it's similar, but it's more up to date, it's more convenient to work on and maintain.
Gotcha.
And like I said, I'm gonna look at down the road, I've even talked with the engineers and the other people the plumbers, that it'd be smart to go back to the way it used to be, but more direct, and no elbows and turns, it'll be more direct. So we'll probably, if we decide to do it, we'll take it out to the Center Street sewer system.
Gotcha.
It's pretty much a straight shot. That's down the road, that's something we have to look at a later date.
Which I think is a very good idea.
The reason we have one bid is because of this is an emergency.
Yeah, it's considered emergency, and I did go out for more bids, but the one bid that I did go after, I was just trying to make it right, as I told you yesterday. It wasn't even what we wanted, it wasn't even the scope of the work what we wanted, so I'm just like, I gotta get this done. Yeah. Cause we're leaking now, my guys every morning go down and mop it up. So it's just, the system's trash, it's just no good no more, so. We've repaired it, you know, to get it where it works for us, cause 2 months ago, we were down, we didn't know if we were, you know, we had to, so when I started doing this, it was more of an even emergency it is now. I mean, it was, we didn't know, luckily, we got it to repair to function to get us by until we could get something. I mean, it's still leaking, but it's not flowing over the top like it was. As you know, you work on it.
Yeah, it's miserable.
So what more of this is, I've already told them to move forward, start ordering stuff. This was, I brought this to you to ratify it, you know, about 2 weeks ago I come to you guys. So they're moving now, I mean, all I gotta do is I gotta take the window out down there so they can get a pump in there to pump all the sludge out in the very bottom of the grinder hole. And then they just set it in. And it won't cause us any downtime. It won't shut they can work around that. They can still, operation can be as normal. I asked them to do it on a weekend, said it doesn't matter because it'll be just a switch over right away. They'll have it all plumbed and switched in.
Okay. Okay.
So there won't be no downtime of the operation of the courthouse with the jail and all that. Unless they run into some kind of problems, then we might have to shut them down for an hour or 2.
Right. Okay. Any other questions on that, or? Okay, being that this is a combined work and regular session, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the bid from High Desert Electric for a fiscal impact of $15,150 for a grinder pump system for the courthouse.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to ratify and approve the bid with High Desert Electric for a fiscal impact of $1,550. $15,000, sorry, $150. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. We're gonna move on to the next one, and what is this? Oh, T-hanger.
T-hanger is just a simple lease agreement that we do at the T-hangers out at the airport. Dog Lake Construction is getting into the airplane world, so they bought an airplane, they needed a hangar, they've been waiting for about a year to purchase one, one kind of opened, they were on the list, so we got them in there. For them to have a hangar, so it's just one more thing to help our airport.
Right. Yeah, no, we were talking about this again this morning too. Any thoughts, questions?
Is the lease payment the same as what other lease rates are?
They're all $75. We are, beginning of next fiscal year, we are gonna look at raising all, DT hanger. All the leases out there, all the hangers, we're gonna look at a percentage and raising it up. Cause it's been 75 for a long time.
Just real quick, I'm gonna sidestep, it is 9:10. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the hearing for ordinance 60. And we'll just leave that hearing open through the remainder of the meeting, if there's any questions or comments on that. So going back to, is there any other questions that we have on the hearing?
Do we need a motion?
I will entertain one.
I'll make a motion to accept the T-hanger lease agreement with Dog Lake Construction and Lake County Airport.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the T-hanger lease agreement with Dog Lake Construction, $75 a month. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye, motion carries. The next item is rebuild landfill compactor.
Okay, now this, this quote for the compactor is I got with Jim Bailey, we're gonna use roll 11. And then it states, you must notify the board that the awarding of the contract without competitive bidding will result in cost savings. The contract is for a single project that you attempted to obtain 3 bids but were unsuccessful. So I reached out to a couple other places. They couldn't give me a bid because they didn't have what it took to do the level of rebuild we did. And this is just a sole project. It's not like there's a construction of a new building. It's a maintenance.
And we're looking for a level 3.
Well, yeah, we have to have a level 3 or we're not going to get. It's either we go after this level 3, rebuild that whole motor to be where we need to be able to compact garbage at the landfill. Like I said, it's maintenance. It's not like we're putting anything new. It's just a repair of something we already have.
Right. And if we were to go for a level 1 per se and open it up or whatever and run into other stuff, which we already kind of know,
We already
there's a
did.
bunch of, you already did. and
We've already
found
did
there was
that.
issues
We've
with
already
the
did the
heads.
evaluation of that.
Gotcha.
Because we tore it apart, looked at it, this is what it is, and to get all that fixed would be a level 3 rebuild. So the quote that come back was $41,000. Sorry,
$634.89.
and that's okay. You look at it this way: 41,000 compared to if we had to go buy a new one. A new one's about 700,000. So yeah, it might not look pretty. It might be have a dent or there might be tweaked, but you're gonna have a new machine where we can operate.
Right. And that's what's important at this point. So.
Because we gotta have it. We're at the point, we're on our last leg on our other compact. I mean, it's wore out, and I'm just keep my fingers crossed every time it's out there running that it makes it through the day.
So Dave, maybe we should think about seeing what it'd take to fix that one up as a backup too.
And I can do that, but I wanna get this and then I will focus on that. And I don't think that one needs a rebuild. I think that one just needs to get gone through and where it's still,
Good tune-up.
good
So to
tune-up.
speak.
I know the motor actually runs pretty good. It's a little bit weak, but the transmission side of things is what's kind of slow on it.
And the sheep feed are wore out. I'm assuming there's bolt-on extensions for those.
Possibly I haven't looked into it, but I can't.
Because once those compactors are down, so is the landfill.
So, oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm like this every day. You start that thing in.
Right. Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Make the motion to accept the bid to rebuild the landfill compactor for $41,634.89 from Pearson Cat.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the bid from Peterson Cat for a rebuild of one of our landfill compactors for $41,634.89, and we approved the bid under Rule 11. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. And that's all I think.
That's all I got.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
So can I ask a question? Why did we delete the upgrade on the door?
You guys weren't ready.
Copy that? Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Dave. So, Ronnie, I see you're here. Would you like to give us a presentation on the fair?
Like an update, yeah, not necessarily a presentation.
Oh, come on.
I did run out to the office really quick this morning on the master plan. These are two deals that they just sent me
Thank you.
just to see if they were kind of going in the right direction for the final phase of the conceptual part of the master plan. And of course, the first project is getting rid of the old barns and doing a new all-inclusive multi-use indoor arena is what it's called. And that's kind of what the focus is on that.
So they would house the livestock, plus they can show.
Yes, and there'd be permanent grandstands, permanent bleachers on one side of it. So the show ring and everything would be right in there. Kind of like, have you ever been to Crook County's fair for their kids? They know there, anyway, it's kind of set up like that. It's kind of an all-inclusive, everything is right there. The show rings, the judging rings, the sale ring, everything is all right in one big building. And I haven't even hardly looked at these because we just got it this morning. But the one thing that I really like is where the old buildings would be. The idea was always to, when those were tore down, to make that the vendor and social area. So the food could spread out, the vendors could spread out, the carnival would be over in this other area, not in the park, not in the front part of the lawn, which was always one of the main ideas. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's awesome.
But the sale barn will be left intact.
The sale barn will be left intact. It will probably be moved, but it'll be left
Can
intact.
they move it home?
I don't know, that was something they were gonna look at, but they wanna keep it intact also in their plan. And so, because that would be great for concerts, that would be great for so many things if it had a little remodeling done. So, and actually, it's right here, you can see it in the picture.
Yeah. But it's in the same place. And what I was thinking, if you move the livestock barn to the other side of like where the Ed Garrett Memorial
Oh,
Museum is, how would you get the animals to the sale barn?
The sale ring would be right inside
So
the
the
indoor.
old sale barn wouldn't be used for a sale barn anymore.
Right,
You're right, you're totally right, that some improvements, some heat on that old sale barn,
yeah, wouldn't that be great?
it would be perfect.
Yeah.
So,
So this is just kind of their first, the board hasn't even seen this, they just emailed this to me last night, so I went out and got it this morning.
and there's a board meeting tonight.
Yes.
Okay.
6:30, just to remind us.
And what is their way of paying for this?
Well, so I've been in constant contact with a couple different funders. Most of it I imagine would probably be, I would probably think it would be more of a USDA type of grant, but, yeah, USDA, yeah. But I've also been talking to, Ford Family has come by, every time that they're in town, they come by and visit and do the walkthrough and see how the plan's going. Same with Meyer Memorial, same with Collins, not our local one, but the Collins Foundation. And Murdoch is really interested in it. They're trying to work around, Murdoch doesn't do anything with, it has to be 501c3, we're not a 501c3. And it's all in who owns the building. So I don't know if they're gonna be able to get around that at all.
So you're
But-
not a 501(c)(3)?
No, we're a 506 something, because we're government. So we're county owned, and that kind of makes it different, because they're strictly nonprofit supporters. So anyway, so I keep in contact with a number of funders, especially for this first project, because that's what they're all interested in, because it hits all of their things. It's children, it's youth, which is a big, huge thing. It's community, it's event center for community meeting kind of things. It just meets a whole lot of their stuff. So, and Fort Family is wonderful to Lake County, always has been. And so they keep in contact with me, actually. And we do have a grant set aside that they gave me a couple of years ago, and then I ended up getting money for the last part of the master plan. And it's a TNA grant, a technical assistance grant, for $5,000 worth of grant writing, which would be great because then we can get the template. You know, the first grant's always the template. And then I can kind of take it from there, which is nice. But so that's kind of the master plan. We just signed the contract for them mid-November, and then the holidays hit, and Gail just had surgery. She's the one who designed a lot of the Pendleton Roundup facility, and she's the one who's working on this, which is really kind of cool, because she has all kinds of ideas. But they're thinking of hopefully trying to have a deadline of March to have the master plan done. And that would be after, it'll come to the board for review, the first set of ideas, and then for review, revision, our input, and then it will go out for community input, and then I guess we accept it or not. So I'm excited. I'm really excited for this, especially the first project. But I can go on with other updates too.
You got some?
Okay, I do. So we just signed the contract, well, the board is signing the contract tonight for the RV expansion and upgrade, which I'm so excited about. The board did grant to put 5,000 more to the contract so that Dog Lake would actually get something out of it, which I thought was really nice, because he's really good to the fairgrounds. So, but for that, the only thing with that, so we're hoping to have that done before May, before we really start having a lot of RVers come through. But it will increase the spaces 25 feet, which will be really nice. Right now they're 15. So when everybody's in there, they're like this. And then it will add 6 pull-throughs. And it will upgrade. We couldn't upgrade everything to 50 amp because of Pacific Power. Otherwise, it would be like another 15,000. So we went with the first 4 sites are 30 amps, which they usually are vendor sites for during fair. So I know all of those trailers will work, and they're big trailers, so I know they work on the 30s. And then the rest will all be 50s. So I'm excited about that too. A lot of stuff happening. The other little stuff that we've been doing, which hasn't been done for years, is we replaced all the locks, all the door locks, which, you had to stand on one foot and hold your tongue and everything to get the doors unlocked. It was horrible. So all those are now replaced, and we only have 2 main keys for everything, almost everything. We've done all new, sweeps on the bottom of the doors, new thresholds on a lot of them.
Nice.
So we've just been doing all kinds of that little maintenance stuff. Nick just finished, I don't know if you've been under the grandstands, but there used to be some kind of building underneath there that they used for something. But anyway, it had kind of been all torn up. And so he's been under there working, and he's got it all enclosed, which is where we're gonna use it for storage on the stuff that.
Just underneath the grandstands?
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was a nice sized building, probably 12 by 12 maybe.
We used to have the ticket booth for the.
No, we already used that for storage, for the horse racing, right? Yeah, no, it's underneath the grandstands. And so we're gonna put all the stuff in there that we really only kind of use during fair, so that we don't have to keep moving things around to get stuff out. So that's been a very cool thing. I just ordered a new heater for the office. And I actually bought a good one because I've gone through 3 of them, and the little plugins just don't heat the office. this whole, last week I got it up to 59. It was awesome. But, so anyway, I went ahead and got a hardwired one. I got with Jeremy, kind of like the one they have in the shop. So it was only $250, but still, it's a lot for me to spend on the heater. Let me see what else at the fairgrounds. Oh, so we're doing a whole lot of, our lobbyist, JL,
Oh,
I
yeah.
forget his last name. Anyway, we're all going to be putting in letters of what exactly the fairgrounds do besides just fair, which in our case, you know, we were the vaccine sites and we have four scheduled already. We have the second shots coming up this next weekend. And then we have another clinic, I think tomorrow, and then one in March again. So we would have been having 4 of them. Plus we were the site for the testing, plus we were the site for storage, plus we were a site for fire. So we're trying to make the whole story of everything that we do in order to hopefully get additional funding besides the regular 53,000. So I'm putting together those bullet points and I'll probably forward it to you so you can put in some bullet points that I'm not thinking of. What else?
I think too, that the fair board needs to send a letter, but I think the board of commissioners needs to send a letter.
Nice, okay.
And, do we send that to jail or Pat?
I'll go through Patrick.
So Patrick is also a lobbyist, Patrick's
Same, yeah.
and then Rocky Dallum is also a lobbyist for the Eastern Oregon Association of Counties.
They all know each other.
So we actually have 3 lobbyists working on the fair stuff.
Yeah.
So,
What exactly are they trying to achieve?
for one, we're trying to get 1% of the lottery funds without a cap. Right now, there's a cap on,
There's a 3% cap.
and what we're getting this year is 53,000.
Yeah.
Without that cap on there, each fairgrounds would receive about 400 and some thousand a year.
And originally, the original law or whatever it was that was put into effect was the 1%. And then throughout the years, it's just gone down. And what did they say it was, like less than 0.5% right now or something, less than that even, I think, plus the cap. But so if we even just went back to the 1, which I think would be a way too big of an ask, which is kind of the general consensus.
You always start high.
I know, yeah.
You start high, you couldn't
Yeah.
have lower.
But just to get back to that original, which would be fabulous for, you know, and a lot of the fairgrounds, we've all talked to the Ways and Means Committee when we have Capital Day and all that kind of stuff. And it's all the same thing. We all can make the day-to-day, you know, with our revenue and all that kind of stuff, but we don't have money for capital.
Right.
I mean, we just can't generate that. That's just not what
Not only
it's.
don't we have money for capital, we don't have money for maintenance costs.
Projects.
Yeah,
Any
right,
kind
bigger.
of project. Every fairgrounds is dilapidated and falling down and scraping by.
Yeah.
And there's such a huge cultural and historical part of our communities that.
Yeah.
So
So that's
we
the
have
real
to reach to
interesting
the
part.
fire here.
Yeah. Yeah,
We
so I've
can
been
get
spending
you
a lot
slated
of
though
time.
for a presentation up at the Capitol though, if you want, you know, you can testify.
Well,
Exactly that, yeah.
I brought it up in our meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did have a question on the RV hookups and stuff, so
Okay.
where we're putting the new RV hookups, is that matching with this master plan or this plan here? Or is it not
So
really?
the first project, no, it's not. Originally, I mean, they always keep
'Cause
talking.
this is really different, I've
Yeah.
never seen this before, so.
I know, it's really kind of cool. And I get their idea. So where this is right now is the 4-H parking lot. That's where they have where they have the RV park eventually. Because the water goes right in there, everything's a direct line
Right.
right in there. But that's probably 5, 10 years down the line. I mean, because the first project is gonna be, of course, the indoor multi-use covered arena. And so that will be the first project. And that'll probably be a year or two.
But the RV hookups that we're putting in right now, where are they exactly
Oh, they're-
located in comparison to this?
Oh, they're in the same place. They're in the
Same
same
place.
place our RV is right now.
Okay.
They're just
So that
extending
it would
it.
be like right in here,
Right.
on the edge of the fair park.
So if they're on the edge of the fair parking, can we at least, because we're spending the dollars to put in these RV hookups and everything, can we get that put into the plan that we would want our RV hookups there? Because
Well, we can. I mean, we may never get all this done.
right,
I mean, we may not, but
but
at some point, it would be nice to have everything and have this whole big parking area all in one deal. And the separate, livestock parking over here, it makes a lot of sense, but that will be way down the line. In fact, moving the RV might be one of the last projects.
right.
That won't be cheap.
No,
Well, that's what I was thinking, because I was, when we were looking to do these RV hookups and everything and to extend it, I thought it was kind of matching in with what the master plan was. But now this is showing the RV hookups over on the 4-H parking lot.
and this isn't approved. I mean,
Right.
this is just kind of what they're thinking. And so when it comes to the board, they may have a different idea, community may have a different idea, which will all that will be input.
Right.
They may not want it over there.
Okay.
Or whatever. But,
Well, yeah, I was just
Yeah.
thinking out loud.
but that could be really 5 or 10 years down the line. And then, in the meantime, the additional spot, we get a lot of use in our RV park. And we have a lot of bigger rigs that come through that we just can't handle. I think it will really increase our income, our revenue.
No, I understand. I was thinking, you're spending the dollars on it for something that you're gonna move in 5 to 10 years or something
But
like
we'll
that.
always use the power there,
Yeah,
I mean, in that location.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well,
But
for one thing, this RV park here that they have, that there's not nearly enough capacity for
No.
the amount of campers that we have
That's
currently.
right, that's right.
Um,
So, yeah, that's
Let
just
alone
their
the
idea.
amount of RVs that we would draw once we have an indoor arena.
Yes, I know, exactly.
So,
So for right now, having the RV park where it is will be actually more accessible
right,
to the indoor. So who knows if that will ever happen? Who knows if the historical village will move? They're willing to move, however it all works out, but, I'm just more
It'd be a
concerned
lot
with this
easier to
part.
move them than the RV.
Hmm?
It'd be a lot easier to move them than the RV.
Yeah,
yeah, the historical village.
yeah. So, but anyway, they just sent me these this morning, or last night, so I went out this morning to print them out. for
Okay,
them.
yeah, no, this is
So
really
that's just
interesting.
kind of where, and they have, so the way we get it, we get 3 revisions, I think is what it is. And this they haven't really submitted yet, but, when they submit something, we get 3 revisions. So we can review it once and make changes and twice, and then after public input. If we want to make changes, we can make changes. So, otherwise, we're just kind of moving forward with all the stuff that we normally don't have time to do. And it's been really good for Nick, because he's been learning all kinds of things. Because he was green when we hired
Right,
him, and we knew
right.
that right off the get-go, but he picks up really quick, and
That's
once he's shown something, he's got all the equipment on a service weekly thing, he starts them all. It's like, whoa. Anyway, it's just kind of a nice change.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, and I have in the last 2 weeks, my arena dates have pretty much filled up almost 3 weeks from May, June, July, August, and some even after Roundup. So my arena is being booked. MODOK's gonna have their summer series here again. They sent 15 kids to nationals out of 19 in Texas this year. That was pretty cool. So anyway, yeah. So the arena's booking up. I'm having tons of calls on the building. Until we get the 300 cap lifted, there's not much we can do with the buildings. We can do, I'm going back and forth on a gun show because Seven Feathers had one and they had so much business. One of the vendors there sold 25,000 in one day because you can't find anything on the shelves anymore. And so, so I'm sitting there going, okay, wait, how can we have a gun show? Gun show would fall under, because it's retail, would fall under the occupancy rates. So I'm trying to figure out what the occupancy of the buildings are and see if we can pull off a gun show in April, May. Because we don't have 250 people all the time.
Do it in May, maybe we can do it outside.
The thing is during the gun show, didn't they used to just be in one exhibit building?
Yeah, depending on the number of tables.
So we could split it between the two exhibit buildings.
Yeah,
And increase on.
and so, because I think it would be beneficial.
I mean, that's
Just because nobody's finding it.
like we heard in that meeting, as long as you section things off,
Mhm.
you can meet those. It's the occupancy in like one building or in one section.
Yeah.
And so,
And have the free flow of
Yeah, and we'll put those little round things on
traffic.
for
Yep.
directional that nobody will pay attention to, because we don't pay attention and say quit. I know, sorry, but we don't. But we will.
We all know
those
that,
with signs. So, am I being recorded?
Yes, ma'am, you
Yeah,
are.
Anyway, so we're trying to figure out things that we can do in the buildings, but we had the dog training out there last Wednesday.
Oh,
Yeah, they used the sheriff's office, used the fairgrounds in the building to do a dog training. So that was kind of fun, left some crap on the wall, literally, that Nick had to clean, but I mean, just clean up, you guys, yeah, no problem.
wow. Lovely.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
For Nick.
my condolences to Nick.
Yep. But,
Glad to have him, though.
yep. Yep. So, you know, speaking of fees, well, we weren't, but earlier somebody was. In going to a couple of the other fairgrounds and stuff, I was asking them, because we get tent campers and, you know, some of them are not, they just want to live there for $5 a day.
Right.
And so, which creates a mess, which creates hard to get rid of them, which creates it. One time we had 4 or 5 of them, and then we had an old bus that came up, and by the next morning he had a chicken coop and his recliner outside of the bus with chickens. I mean, it was like, oh my gosh. But they see it, and then they go, oh yeah, we can all park there. And so I was talking to John Day, to Grant County, anyway, and I said, so how do you not get, because they have trees, and so, you know, they get a lot of tent campers and stuff. And she said, oh no, we had that quite a bit, and so we raised the overnight tent camping or dry camping to $15 a night. Ours is $5. Well, anybody will pay $5, but they may all get paid $15. So anyway, it's just something that I'm going to bring up at the board meeting. Just because when they get in there, they're not big.
Well, I
The
remember,
majority of them have just been trashy. I mean, leaving trash around.
I remember last year, we had to have the sheriff's office go down to get that guy to leave. And so, not only should we do the $15, but with a 5-day max.
I put a 3-day max on the signs. That was just kind of because I was ordering signs and I went, yeah, 3 days. But, you know, without written permission.
Otherwise, they think they live there.
Yeah, and we do get a lot of that, and so it was just kind of a thought of mine, because I was asking other fairgrounds how they do it. And Harney's doing a real big, they're doing a whole big, huge, fancy RV setup now, because they get so much RV traffic. So, yeah. Anyway, we're just moving along, doing stuff. I'm doing a lot of paperwork. I thought, you know, it can be a slow period, but now I'm doing a lot of
That's why
paperwork.
they pay you the big bucks,
That's
right?
Yeah. Yeah, those big bucks.
Yeah. Any other questions, Ronnie, or?
Just a comment, you know, commissioners working behind the scenes in the event that there's some stimulus work to be done. You know, we're playing at fairgrounds
Oh, super.
and whatnot, so we're doing some behind the scenes work.
Oh, good, thank you.
So the more your plan is getting in place, the better off it may be, because it may support future dollars.
Ooh,
Sorry.
nice, thank you.
Not promising anything
Oh,
this
no,
time.
yeah.
We're certainly thinking about it.
Oh, good, thank you. Well, and I know I talked to Warner, or to, Representative Rashid.
Yeah, Dr. was-
Quite a bit, yeah, quite a bit, and he's real supportive of the
Yeah,
programs
he
too,
is.
and so that's, yeah, he's a nice guy.
And he comes over here a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So.
So, okay, anything else for you tonight? Okay.
Alright.
Okay, well, thank you, you guys. Have a good day.
Right.
Do I need to sign it?
Sure. Just kidding. AOC Dues, is one of the next items on our list. We can have some discussion on this. One of the things that I think we might wanna consider is, there's a couple items on here that are optional. And, I think we need to discuss, whether or not we're overlapping on some of these things. Like, one of the things traditionally in the past, former board and ours, public land fund dues, that's about 8,000. And then they have federal land management subcommittee, which is another 4,600. We've talked about that in the past. It's been kind of an overlap. And because federal land management subcommittee dues is voluntary, but required for voting privileges,
Yeah, the federal lands dues, we didn't pay those before.
we haven't traditionally, I don't think we paid those in a long time.
All you're doing is paying for a vote.
Yeah.
And with us being involved with the Eastern Oregon counties with our own lobbyists on virtually all of the public land matters.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be that
We don't pay for the federal land management subcommittee dues. And I've been to those meetings. I listened to the discussion.
He actually called her.
I mean, I wanted to vote him, but we couldn't,
Right.
so.
But there's
You're
not.
paying practically $5,000 for one vote.
Yeah.
I can't imagine us not being engaged on public land discussion and not having our voice being important to ears to make sure that.
See, the thing is that we can be on this committee, you just can't vote.
Yeah.
And so
You can talk
I've
about
said what I've had to say in these meetings, but when it boiled down to the voting, which way it go, I didn't have a vote.
what we do in the public lands.
Yes.
And did you ever have an occurrence where the vote was tight and you wish you could have voted?
Yeah, a couple times.
And it was ONC lands were wanting one thing, and the non-ONC public lands were wanting another.
Yeah.
And the ONC lands ended up winning because they rallied enough votes.
They had a lot of votes.
And how to go from there?
We ended up, on this particular one, well, there was another one where it come down to a tie. And we had one vote enough to overturn ONCs. And that particular vote was the problem that we were running in with. We had the same lobbyists for public lands, federal lands, and Eastern Oregon counties had the same lobbyist, and he was triple dipping, and we didn't like that. And so ONC counties got upset that we removed him and decided to go out on their own and hire him. And so we got rid of him. And so, I mean, it's come to several times, you come to, but I don't know if it's worth $5,000. We can still have a voice, you just can't vote.
And they don't always have really big issues that come up. You might have one issue a year.
And the thing is now that we're involved with Eastern Oregon counties,
And we have a different lobbyist entirely. Like that was one of the things I think the previous board, because of that triple dipping that was going on, they didn't want to be part of EOCA plus this, plus doing federal land subcommittee. So it didn't make any sense, but you have a different lobbyist, you have different goals in mind. EOCA is focused on the issues that pertain to the forest on this side of the Cascades. We don't deal with the ONC issues. So we actually, when we vote on things, it doesn't come down to that. We don't have those divides typically. We can focus on what's best for the individual areas.
It gets us down to $16,442. We exclude the subcommittee dues for federal lands,
Which is still more expensive than the OCA. But we do get other.
So I guess I support you guys on that. Certainly can see how it goes for the year. I just mentioned I still haven't seen anything from the OCA.
Right.
So-
we only have like one of those meetings a month.
Okay.
So
Well, I've seen more value in AOC right now,
I agree.
obviously with everything that's going on. So, but I support not paying the subcommittee dues.
well, like, go back to the OCA, you will see more action from the OCA on sage grouse, wild horses, wolves.
Eastern Oregon topics.
Right, because these guys will barely touch them. AOC will barely touch those subjects because
it gets too confrontational for some of the
it's-
politics and
right, it's confrontational for them. Where you'll see more and more of these EOCAs.
I mean, we've had meetings with the EOCA group back in 2019 where we had 15 senators and reps in the room, and that was the EOCA meetings. And we had every commissioner in Eastern Oregon basically sitting at the table. We couldn't get enough tables in the restaurant to seat everyone. And I mean, good discussions, good conferences, good collaboration between everyone. And we didn't always have that at the AOC. In fact, very rarely would we have stuff like that at AOC.
And, well, the president of EOCA just had, or the chair, just had his heart surgery and quadruple bypass, so,
That's a factor.
that plays a little bit of a role, but
Paul's usually a lot more active, sending emails and everything else, but as soon as he's better, I think we're gonna
and
kick off.
you can contact anybody and just say, hey, I'm not getting the information I think I need, this is what I need, and I'll get it to you.
I've got this much so far.
Yeah, right, I get you. The Susan Roberts, Commissioner Roberts, she's the former chair. Was Todd Nash that chair at one point? Is he like a co-chair, vice chair or something?
It's a natural resource. Co-chair.
You might have been.
I don't remember. Is there anything else that we want to forego? There's a couple other voluntary dues on here. Veteran Fund, CFTLC, Special Voluntary Assessment Dues.
That's pretty
That's
small
zero.
amount.
That's zero on that. The Video Lottery Defense Fund, I would definitely recommend because it is a small amount and we want to be at the table for those.
And we have more veterans per capita than
Right.
any other county,
Absolutely.
and so
Um,
we need to keep that.
PERS,
And then the other one's only $194.
yeah, absolutely.
So,
And PERS. The Alliance dues.
Again, that's only $200.
No, I agree. I just figured I'd go down the list with some of the stuff that is on here. I've never really been involved with the PERS Alliance stuff.
is that always on there? 'Cause I don't remember that.
Yeah, I think it was on there, but I've never been involved in any of the discussions. I'm not even sure who's heading any of that discussion up. Maybe Mike Elias in the original. But other than that, I was kind of leaning towards not going with the dues for the federal land management subcommittee.
So you want me to make a motion to accept
Do we need a motion for this, or do we just do consensus?
Just consensus.
Yeah, I think it's just consensus.
I think it's a consensus, we pay the Aoc dues without the federal land management subcommittee dues.
I'm good with that.
Yes. That would make it $16,442.
And I was kind of hoping Judy would be here. Also, we've got mental health 9th Amendment. Run through that real quick. Oh, you know what? Actually, we've got several other items before we get to that. It was just the next thing that was in my stack. We've got a representative for weekly calls with the governor's office. If you guys don't mind, go back. We've kind of already had some emails exchanged on this. So, are you guys wanting me to be on those calls then?
You know, like, I think the consensus was that whoever's the chair,
Sits on it, and then co-chair.
when the chairs get filled.
Right, yeah, so I will attend those meetings, and if I'm unable to make it, I'll let you know, Commissioner Albertson, and then you can fill in.
Yep.
And be on those calls.
I think that's how most of the other counties do it.
Yeah.
anyways.
And just have that kind of chain, so it's worked out. The next item on the list, so yeah, consensus of the board, I'll do that, and then Commissioner Albertson will follow. The next item is rare discussion. So, Melanie.
Would you mind waiting until Jonathan's here? He was planning to be here around 10:30,
Okay,
or I can message him and ask him to come now.
that's perfectly fine, 10:30 is fine, I can hold off. 9th Amendment to OHA agreement. Let me see here. I should talk to Dr. Wanzer about this yesterday.
You should have, or you did?
I should have.
Mhm.
I think it's just an adjustment. Yeah, Melanie, what was it? Did you look over this, or did you discuss it with Trace?
No, I reviewed it though.
Yeah.
If you would like help.
Sure, absolutely. If you want to give us an overview.
Sure. So it adjusts the fiscal year of 1920 by a decrease of $1,214 and the fiscal year of 2021 by $1,250 for pre-screening reduction, and then it increases fiscal year 1920 by $6,103.30 and fiscal year 2021 for $3,051.64 for the increased adoption of treatment.
Right. Okay.
So a total treatment increase of $9,154 $2,464.94, and reduces pre-screening services by $2,460.
9,000 or 6,000?
$9,000 total
Over 2
for both
years.
fiscal years.
Over 2 years.
It adjusted for last fiscal year and this fiscal year. Trace won't be able to make a meeting until March.
Yeah, I know she's got a ton of trainings and stuff going on. Okay,
On the reductions, only, I see two different figures there, $1,214 and then $1,250.
Mhm.
So would it actually be 2,500 reductions?
Yes, $2,464 total reduction for both fiscal years. It's just a little accounting change. They approved the assumption that they built in that OHP and Medicaid would pay $1,200 per treatment.
I'll entertain a motion. There's a motion.
Make the motion to approve the Ninth Amendment to the Oregon Health Authority for the 2019-21 intergovernmental agreement for financing of mental health, addiction treatment, recovery, and prevention, and problem gambling services agreement number 159169 with the adjustments on Exhibit C.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the Ninth Amendment with the Oregon Health Authority, Agreement 159169. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item. So we got adoption of amendments to Ordinance 60. I'm perfectly fine with it. We're moving forward and doing the adoption today.
Well, the hearing opens at 10:10, so can we
Yeah.
wait until you officially?
Close, or
Well,
I have to close the hearing and then we.
yeah,
Go
but we
ahead.
noticed it to start at 10:10,
Mhm.
so could we wait on that?
Yeah,
too,
we can
please?
wait.
I'm
We
sorry.
can wait till later.
Commissioner, I have questions about Ordinance 60.
Absolutely.
Because we get into nuisance ordinance, I think that there's some verbiage in here that contradicts some of that potentially.
Oh, okay. Do we want to wait on having any of that discussion, or are we waiting for anyone to show up, Melanie? Or
I don't know, but
okay.
we advertised it for a certain time, so I hate to make
Oh,
something in haste.
Did I read the time wrong when I opened up the hearing?
9:10.
I did. I opened it at 9:10. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, it's okay.
I
I don't
caught a
think,
look.
Just as long as we leave it open.
I think as long as you leave it open, it's not detrimental, but I'd hate to take action now or make
No,
any recommendations
No,
without
that's totally on my
opening the
bad.
hearing to the public,
No,
just in case.
and I opened the hearing already at 9:10, so that was my bad. I was reading the time wrong. I just got looped around my head. So.
So speaking of Ordinance 60, well, I guess I'm not familiar with this. I just read through it today, but what is it exactly?
Well, we talked about it at the last meeting, I thought, didn't we?
We've been talking about it for a couple of months. It's the appeal process if environmental health license needs to be appealed, if they feel like the ruling was unjust. We added language from ORS 183, I believe, to meet the state's requirement. And then I changed the highlighted things that I've sent to you guys. And any other changes are great. I don't mind changing anything.
So,
you guys
so
want.
just to be clear, if somebody is wanting to appeal, then they come to the commissioners.
Mhm.
To appeal the,
Yeah. And so one change was of note was that you guys would designate a representative for the hearing, but like all the other processes, you have all three of you hearing it. so I changed that to include all three of you instead of a designated person.
I don't know why I just blanked on this thing. I don't remember it at all.
Technically, the hearing shouldn't start in another 10 minutes.
You
But
already opened it.
I know, but technically, we've got plenty of time. So,
I'm sorry, Melanie, I didn't. I don't remember this.
we
It's
can,
okay, like, just any input you have, and we can table this if you prefer. Normally, after we close the hearing, you guys do make some changes or adopt it, or adopt contingent upon changes.
So my only, Commissioner Robertson, my only concern on it was that if you were going to discuss about nuisance ordinance work that is similar, that may also, my question was, does environmental health services also fall into maybe what you were trying to propose, or would this be separate and have something that we would hear on?
I think it would be separate, but because this isn't a nuisance.
This is only for licenses.
For licenses.
But I guess where I'm confused is that we don't provide the licenses, the state does.
We have a program through public health, and we contract with Klamath County to come over and do inspections. And
For like the restaurants and
Mhm.
that. And so we,
so we are the health authority that
okay,
they would appeal to. I know it's
So-
complicated because of
so if that's the case, we have the authority, because I know that we paid all of their business licenses.
Mhm.
And so, but the business license are going through the county or the state?
Our program, the program's through the county that gets paid to the state. We do all of the inspections.
So I guess what I'm having trouble with is if we're the environmental health authority,
Mhm.
can we tell OSHA not to go in these establishments?
Probably not.
because we don't issue the licenses, so to speak, we're just basically doing the inspections, or that's our charge. So through public health, if I'm speaking correctly. But the licenses still go through the state.
So we have the authority to tell our people during a time of emergency, they don't have to be inspected.
There's a section in here on reconsideration and rehearing, and the party can file a petition for reconsideration, rehearing, on a final order with the county within 30 days after the order has been served. So they still have an opportunity to, we can hear it after they have been served.
Yeah, but if we can hear it but have no authority to govern over the top of it, what's the purpose?
I don't know, I feel like it's probably similar to our building codes. You know, the state has these rules that you have to follow, and we just make it happen. I feel like it's kind of similar to that. But I understand what you're saying. It's frustrating to have so little power, but have power.
Some thoughts there, Commissioner Robertson.
Yeah, but I don't know if I want to state that.
Okay, alright. Would you guys like to take a quick 5-minute break? And we'll come back in at 10:10.
There are ORS codes there that we can look up. That this is referencing to.
And we don't have to we just open the hearing at 10:10. We don't have to make any decision like Melanie said. If we want to table this so you have some more time to go over these things, we can. I'm not trying to pressure anyone into anything. So.
5 minutes?
5 minutes already open. As I'd opened it an hour ahead of time. But so we can continue with the discussion on the Ordinance 60, if you'd like. If you guys have any further discussion on that, or if you'd like to take some time, Commissioner Albertson, to kind of go over this, we can also table this item for a later date. We don't seem to have any public showing up to give comment. So,
I mean, I hate to say I wanna table it, but that's what I wanna do.
I don't think
needs to be.
it really hurts anything, really, Melanie. I know that there's been someone's challenged this, correct?
They would like to.
They would like to challenge it. So we really should move on this if there's something that we want to amend.
Who's trying to challenge you?
I don't know, a local business.
I can see why they might want to.
Right.
And so, can you put me in contact with them after?
So if you'd like, we can table this for now.
I would like to, I just wanna put some more time into it and see why is this coming before us?
Basically because there's been a notification that someone would like to challenge it, and there was some things that we wanted to update. And Melanie suggested several things.
Haven't been looked at since '06.
Yeah. And no one's looked at it for
So
quite
this
quite
has
some time.
already been in place since since
1976.
76.
1970s, yeah. This has been around for a long time. But, I think you were just updating some of the, ORSs and everything else that was in here, correct, Melanie? You
183.
just, 183,
The state said we had to include more language on that in their
Right.
process.
because it hadn't been touched really in quite some time. And that's on page 8. You can see the language from chapter 183.
My recommendation would be to table it.
Commissioner Schulenberger, do you have any problem with that?
Just make sure we got it right.
Consensus of the board?
We gotta, it's been on our agenda now for a couple times, so
Yeah,
we gotta make sure we're ready to act on the next one.
right.
I apologize that I haven't.
So we can definitely just kind of give you some time to kind of look over it, and that's not a problem at all. We'll table it till the next session, February. Consensus of the board. Next item to discuss, we'll run down to nuisance, I guess.
So those guys were gonna come in at 11:30. They had meetings.
So we'll hold off on that then. We'll go down to, we can do the minutes real quick. We have work session minutes from January 19th and regular session minutes from January 20th. I have a motion on those.
I'll make a motion to accept the work session minutes of 1/19/21 and the regular session meeting minutes for 1/20/21.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes for 1/19 and 1/20, year 2021. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. So we also have rescinding the emergency declaration. Commissioner Albertson.
My apologies, I was reading.
Rescinding the emergency declaration. It's one of the other items that we have.
So I just wanted to talk to you guys about this. At the beginning of, when this COVID all started, we were told that we were going to lose 240, minimum 240 people over the age of 70 in Lake County. I acquired the cooling system, or made it available to put bodies in from the Forest Service. The hospital planned, we started reading data. The data didn't jive with their projections. I talked to a doctor here last week, or the week before, and he said virtually the same thing as me. There was nobody in the hospital. The hospital is not overwhelmed. We're in the low category, and he completely supported us to remove the emergency declaration. I spoke with commissioners from Wallowa County. They removed their declaration after 1 month, and they received all the CARES dollars, blah, 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 because that was one of the concerns that we had. I admit I was going to ask Judy about it, and if she comes in, I'd still like to ask her about it, but because I want her expertise, but to me, it's an inconvenience to us all, but I don't say it's an emergency. And my thought would be to remove that declaration, and because according to the Oregon Emergency Management, we have to remove the declaration before we can start rebuilding our community. And I want to take it and start rebuilding our community. And I also want to make a statement, that we can handle it. And I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts.
So just catch me up, what did the emergency declaration do for you?
So it allows you to receive dollars, but we've seen with Wallowa County receiving dollars without emergency declaration. So that's not going to limit us there. The thing is that I'll use your fire history. So say we have fires breaking out in Lake County. Hardin County doesn't close down because of our
Fire
problem. And so, and I see it the same way here is if we don't have an emergency declaration, I think it's going to allow us other legal things to do, or staying on emergency disallows us from doing some of the things possibly legally. And so I just want to make that statement that I feel we have this under control. We've gathered more data. I'm not saying that COVID isn't deadly to some people in our community. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that we should just go about things the way we used to. But what I am saying is, from the data, we're not under an emergency. We have, no, as of last week, we had 0 people in the hospital, 0 people on the ventilators, and our cases were low.
Right.
And so,
We can make it through this. And
and I want to replace some hope in our community, and, you know,
having a state of emergency enacted grants a certain amount of authority and privilege and everything else to even us. And one of the things that it's been doing for us lately is it makes it easier to get PPE if there's a shortage. And that's one of the things our OEM has benefited from, and Judy Clark, our public health director. If there is a shortage of certain things, it keeps you in line, so to speak, to get those things. That's one of the things that's said. It doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have access to those things anyway. It also makes it so you don't have to go out for competitive bid. You don't have to go get 3 bids in order to get something. You can just request it because the state of emergency is in process. Now, there's a big discussion going on right now at the state, and there's a bill came before our governance committee yesterday, Bill 2243, and it's being proposed basically to relook at the declarations of emergency and extensions, and that many of these states of emergency can't just be declared. They have to specify exactly why, and they have to have expiration dates, and they have to have dates in which they go into effect and when they don't. We've been sitting kind of on ours for quite some time, and in my mind, I feel like ours actually did expire a long time ago because we've never renewed it. But at this point, this is kind of doing some house cleaning, I think, is what you're looking to do, and just kind of solidifying the fact that we can get through this without necessarily having to declare an emergency for every time the rabbit jumps out of the hole, so to speak.
and the thing is that if things change, we can go back in. There's nothing that's stopping us from.
Or if another emergency takes place or something, and there's something happens. But at this point in time, and for some months now, you're not seeing, if I'm correct, you're not seeing how we can justify sitting in this state of emergency.
Well, at the very first, like I said, they said we're gonna lose 240 people. And our hospital, the whole process was flatten the curve and to provide that our hospitals weren't gonna be overwhelmed. We've succeeded. Our hospital is not overwhelmed. As a matter of fact, they didn't have any patients last week as far as COVID patients in the hospital. And nobody was on ventilators. We flattened the curve. We're enrolled. So why, I guess my question to you two would be, why would we stay on? What would be the purpose? And I don't think we can start restoring hope in our community if we don't do this. And my personal opinion, Commissioner Williams and he did all the writing for it, but we have a couple other things that I would like to bring up at the next meeting and see if that's where we want to go publicly. But I think this is our first step in that process. So.
Yeah, I have prepared some different resolutions and things for us, for proposals in the future. I've got some very rough drafts of things, and I'd like to present them to the board in full. I believe I sent them to you guys so you could review them and read them. I think I sent it last week. And I spent a great deal of time researching, studying, reading, and writing these things out. And but I'd like to have a fully rounded public discussion with my board about some of these things. So, because we haven't had the chance to discuss these things, we can't really discuss these things outside of a public meeting if we plan on deliberating towards any kind of decision. So I think it's just time, now that I've had that time to write these things out, put it together, and put the material together based on discussions that we have had in public meetings many times before. Hopefully you guys will have a chance to kind of review those at our next meeting. We can have some further discussion. But
One of my thoughts too is, and I've probably said this too many times, but we have to do what's right or what we believe to be the right thing for our town, regardless of the consequences. And that's where I'm at. And so,
It's just like a drought. If you aren't in a drought, you need to end it.
right,
So,
right?
let's not overcomplicate it. If we get back into a drought, we reconsider.
Yep.
COVID's, the emergency declaration on that, probably not a lot different. So,
I think we've been doing really well. Our community's doing well. I think we should acknowledge that, and we should make sure that the public understand that these are, even if you do get sick or something, this is something that we can work through, and that there's hope out there. So, Commissioner Albertson, I don't know if you were looking for a motion today or not. It is on for action consideration.
I'll make that motion. I make a motion to end our COVID emergency declaration for the reasons specified.
a second.
Motion's been made and seconded to rescind the county emergency declaration as it pertains to COVID-19. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries. With that, it is 10:30. Jonathan,
Hi, gentlemen.
how are you?
Doing really well. How are you all?
Good.
Good. Thank you for having me back.
Yeah. So we're gonna run back to our rare discussion.
Come on up.
Sure. Yeah.
Can I give some history?
Absolutely.
Just to finish some view of you. So he's here to answer any questions you might have about a rare decision.
Yeah.
We have the opportunity to partner with even LCRI or the hospital potentially on sharing a rare for economic development analysis or work. And Mark asked for me to put it on the agenda for you guys to discuss. So he's just here for technical questions, not to take any of the heat on what we're thinking.
I don't think there's any.
Well, I'm just saying,
He's a grown man.
He's in the hot seat though. So,
well, I don't want you to be on the hot seat.
So are you on the rare program?
He's over here.
I am a rare. Yep. Cohort. This is year 27 of the program for them, and they currently we have 30 members across the state, all over the place, but all landing in rural communities for the most part. And the premise of the program is essentially to support rural environments, rural communities, and their socioeconomic and environmental needs through various approaches. So my position here at LCRI is focused on renewable energy. I'm the renewable energy coordinator for the RARE program this year, and then everyone else, the rest of the members kind of have their own positions as well that support various activities.
And so your rare time's up when?
July 31st. That's not sure. Yeah.
And then what?
And then we have a plan before that, that end date, hopefully. There is some consideration for a second year of service that I've been looking into. And hopefully that would be here again if I decide to go that route. But the program is really emphasized on professional development skills, and so most of us are either directly from our undergrad or coming out of a graduate program, went down a career route they didn't necessarily like, and so they're reassessing and going about it this way. So ideally, you land a job out of the program, and they try to keep you here in Oregon. So.
Right. So if we have some options on the table then, in terms of going between maybe partnering with a rare with either the hospital or LCRI, does that mean that the rare would be partly working with the county on those as well? So what kind of programs, I guess, would we be
So we were
looking at with
thinking-
rare?
Melody and I had talked about having a rare person come in for our economic development side. For one, there's a couple of things that I was thinking about. If this person is like an outstanding economic development person, we'd all three have access to them, of course. But if they're great and we think they're doing a great job, we can make that, possibly give them that job later. And so it kind of gives us,
It would help to be competitive.
Pardon?
It would help to be competitive for a permanent.
correct, and they would we would glean all kinds of information too. I mean, on how we want to develop it, which direction we want to go. You know, if this person can line up our direction, I think that has been one of our biggest problems throughout the years is here's an economic development person, but none of us have a clue where we want to go with it. And, you know, so I guess that's one of the benefits of having it. And as you guys know, if we hire somebody in the blind, after a certain amount of time and they're not doing their job and we don't like, it's a lot harder to get rid of them. This person, if we don't like them, at the end of their term, it's bye. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true. And from what I've heard also, the majority of the placements, the locations that rares end up in, they have a long-term relationship with the program. So the chances are if you enter into the program and you host a rare for 1 year or 2 years, it'll be a recurring thing after that. So, and absolutely, you could fill a position with that economic development expertise and skill, but then you could additionally continue to host rares, I think, as well.
So it would be basically, we'd be kind of partnering with, say, LCRI or the hospital, and that person would be doing kind of part-time work in both, or?
Not necessarily. You can do it that way, but you can also do it where you have your own.
Got it.
And I think that might be the best position for the county to take, the county clerk to take, because I can see, collaborative efforts between the LCRI rare and the county rare, but I think hosting them independently would be probably the best for rare.
Melanie, you had something?
I was going to say that, like, you don't have to, but they need to be collaborating with different aspects for a strong application. So like, if we had our own, I would fill out the application and I would have a community partnership in place to show how they're going to be working in the community, not just like the need and how partnerships would work. And we're not guaranteed a rare. We fill out the application,
Oh, right.
say we have the match, and we get picked.
Right.
Like, we don't get to just throw our money out there and get one.
Yep.
It's not
Right.
quite that easy.
Well, you said there's only 30 of you guys in the state, or? It's not even one per county. So.
And some counties have two. So it really depends, I think, on, like you said, how strong the application is and what kind of what you can put in there to draw in multiple either scopes of work or
And my thought would be to apply for 2 positions myself, and this is, I'm just thinking out loud. The other one would be the grant writer position. All they do is write grants for any county organization. Whether it's the sheriff's office, EMS, facilities, fairgrounds. That's all that person does is search for grants for each department. Because I think we leave too much money out there.
So, just in that particular discussion, you feel that that's 2 separate jobs in its entirety?
I think they would work well together, but to have it done right, I think it would need to be 2 different positions. But, I don't know, I'm asking you.
I can see that being difficult. I can see a really good case for the county to get one, for sure. And as we talked about, pulling from the LCRI, county collaboration, and different activities that are already in place, plus then everything you have happening with COVID recovery money, like we were just speaking of, state of emergency, those kinds of things. Oregon Main Street, economic vitality, those kinds of programs, I think, for sure, could be taken on by the rare. And a single rare position, I think you could leverage it to some degree to have some grant writing done. I think just having a very clear work plan for that person or stated position, description, and narrative, saying that they will be doing some grant writing in support of economic vitality or interest. I think that would be a strong application for sure. And I will add too, each member, they pull on a cohort of 30 or so people, but also a long legacy of program developers from Oregon University. So, folks that are in the workforce right now across the state have gone through the rare program, and those alumni are always supporting the rares as well. I think you should go for it. I think it would be fantastic.
Would you guys consider having this rare look at our park and rec plan and starting to implement that too? And then we could use the collaboration with the library for that,
Very nice. I like it.
just for discussion.
The Park and Rec plan was developed by a rare,
Yeah.
2015.
2017.
2015, October 2015, so it came out. From what I've read, and for the most part, it's sat there. We haven't implemented anything in it. There's a lot of good verbiage in there. It would be a good starting point. Doesn't mean that would be all they would do, but there is plenty there that could be started.
I mean, all of this, whether it be parks and rec, economic development, the grant writer thing, they're all connected. I mean, one benefits the next.
So I really like this, where this is going. You have a thought on your mind.
Yeah, so in 2015, Parks and Rec plan was developed by rare, so the county has hosted a rare.
Yes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Or they work for LCRI.
I don't know the history on it. I didn't even realize we had this plan until just recently.
Okay.
But I think we could knit all of these together with like a community partnership that would be attractive to someone that could be like, okay, I kind of already have this done and then I can build off of that.
Absolutely.
And we have the money for it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we want to save that money for a full position in the future. This position is funded by our lottery dollars, and we have seen a slight decrease. So I don't know. It's up for you guys to decide.
What is the match for the rare?
32,000 or 23,000. I might be dyslexic right now.
I think it was 26,000, and then we have 32,000.
37.5 is what we have budgeted.
Don't look at me, I opened the meeting this morning at 9:10, so instead of 10:10.
The hospital asked me if we would be potentially interested in a partnership. And then I spoke with them for a little bit, and then they're like, well, maybe with your needs, you need your own, and we can still have a partnership and like have them work together possibly, but it sounded, from what she said, it sounds like we need our own.
Was that Christy Albertson? Yeah, they have a lot of.
She said
projects
that
too.
she thought we needed our own.
She said from what I was hoping to achieve, it might be best to have our own independent rare.
See, that's where I agree, because I think you got so many irons in the fire.
Yeah.
And to do a good job for whoever we partner with.
We don't wanna overwhelm them
No.
with
Yeah.
too many projects, only get a little bit done.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this too, in support of that for sure, is the fact that in my current position, we're working with the outside entity, a regional entity that covers broad geographic scope, Oregon and Washington, and they're actually, their headquarters is in Seattle. It makes it very difficult to hone in and focus and collaborate and work if you're pulling from too many places, I think. And so one thing Nick and I have talked about is, and in their revised application for the next rare, they've kept it more local with their who they're pulling into the project. Now, that's not to say obviously the hospital is local, but I just think that, like you said, the more irons in the fire, the more you try to pull the rare in different directions, it becomes more difficult for there to be meaningful work done, I would say.
I would think that would be part of the review of getting the rare board to accept an applicant such as us,
Yeah,
is if
right.
it is set up for success.
Yes, absolutely.
So
And I think we need to set ourselves up for success.
that's
You know, throwing it at the wall and hoping it sticks. You know.
So just to be honest, we've talked about, do we just need to hire an economic development position within the county? And we've done that in the past, we've had mixed success, and whatnot, but this gives us an opportunity to maybe give them some focused things to do, and then we also are getting a long-term opportunity to see how that person does in the event that we do want to potentially make that job permanent in the future. While also allowing us to make sure our finances are right.
Well, the thing is too, is by the end of this 1 year, 2 year program, that person will have a way broader scope of exactly what we need. And would know if we needed that other position, the full-time grant writer position also. I mean, kind of opens the doors of what we actually need and how to get there. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, and we've got a lot of projects and things that we'd like to fund and put money towards. We're looking at nuisance officer and things like this, but having rare, just putting at least a small portion of dollars towards getting someone to work on some of these things like Parks and Rec. It's a huge thing, like you noticed it. I didn't even know we had one of those until mid part of 2020 when I came across it, and I was like, "What? Where did this come from?" And it was really detailed. It was an incredible little plan.
Great job.
And so
I think Kelly Raymer, who worked at LCRI, was the rare person. I could be wrong.
right, I think it was just one of those things that just slipped through the cracks and went to the wayside, and we haven't done anything on it and moved. And we really do need to, because there's lots of Parks and Rec dollars that are being on the table, so to speak. Excuse me. Bless you. All right.
My apologies.
No worries.
Well, I apologize.
Yeah.
So, do you guys think it would be more important to have somebody come in on the economic development side or the grant writing side?
I think at this point, maybe even look at a blend. I think
We can try that.
I wouldn't wanna take grant writing off the table for someone stepping into the economic development.
Like I said, they're very much intertwined.
Right, and like I said, like the Parks and Rec, for instance, if we're going to cut them loose, or cut our rare loose on something like Parks and Rec, there's dollars available through Parks and Rec and through grants and other things that could be applied for. There's a whole avenue of grants, so you would definitely want to include
So
that.
you'd wanna make that part of it.
The beauty of the Parks and Rec thing is there are 7 facilities within the county. And all the research has been done, of what the needs are.
Right.
So part of it could be, taking a look at that, chasing grants if potentially it's available. But then if we have other economic ideas, moving forward with them too. I don't want to limit it to Park and Rec,
No.
but
Because you got agritourism.
But we definitely have
touched here.
we definitely have some go-to things right away that.
I don't think these guys are gonna let a rare limit anything to one specific. There's gonna be lots of different ideas coming in, so yeah.
Right, and that, so kind of going back to what I said about, multiple, if you go with the scope of work and the reach and pulling different organizations in, is definitely not a bad thing to, diversify the scope of work. I think I applied for, 4 different positions, and I think 2 or 3 of those positions had actually like a split role. So in Oak Ridge, in West Fair area, there's somebody that their position is number 1 in support of a wood fire smoke and air quality grant, and then number 2 economic development for the city of Oak Ridge. So, and they're under 1 position. So yeah, I wouldn't be afraid to kind of diversify that. That's good work.
So I guess, do we need to make a motion to apply for a rare position?
Yeah, and Melanie, we would be putting you in charge of that, it looks like. Kind of to be submitting that application.
We'll give you the information we want. So it's gonna be like 30 pages long.
Gosh, guys, just don't be putting too much work on everyone's plate. So,
So I make a motion that we apply for a rare position for economic development / grant writing for the county. And we'll figure out how we're going to do that application.
motion's been made, seconded, we're to go out for a rare position. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. I did ask if there was any further discussion. There kind of is. We didn't have this on the agenda for action or consideration. Just,
I just saw that.
that's okay. It's all right.
Make less work for us later, Gene.
Okay. Well, we definitely have work ahead of us. But I think we definitely do want to go out and do this. This is a really good thing to do. So I appreciate you coming by,
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Let us know if you need any support in that application.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Lonnie, for putting that together for us.
See you, John.
See you later.
See ya. So with that, our next item isn't really, we can't really discuss it too much until 11:30. The only other thing that we have to go over is executive session, but we'd have to have Jim Bailey on the line. We could go into that for, if we could get Jim on the phone in the next 5 minutes or so.
Are you saying you're ready?
Well, yeah, if we could do that. If not, what we could do, if the board's okay with it. I'm looking at doing kind of a hard close, or a hard recess at least at 12. And if we have the nuisance discussion going on at 11:30 when Kenny and Jen get here, that only gives us about 30 minutes on that discussion, which I think is probably adequate. And then, that's Jim, so it looks like we will be able to do that. Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Commissioner, how are you?
Good. Alright, so we're gonna be going into executive session then. Do you have anything for, regular session?
No, things have been pretty quiet.
Okay. With that, we can go into executive session. The press is gag ordered and the camera has to stop. You said that you weren't going to be down here till 11:30.
Can you see if they're, done?
We can also take a recess.
They figured they'd be done by 11, but I just gave them extra time,
Okay.
so maybe they can be, are done and.
It'd just be nice to kind of get it done and out of the way before noon, so we don't have to come back into session or after a recess or anything. And we pretty much got everything else taken care of. So you guys are good with just doing that clarification at our next regular session later in February?
Yep.
Yeah, third week. All right. Sounds good.
Third, I guess we'll be.
Set first and third week of every month. Consensus of the board. It's snowing outside. Looks a little like sleet. I don't have too many liaison updates. Governance committee yesterday, we had, I think, 40 bills that we were looking at. And
I know,
It's only 11.
I know, I was just seeing what you're up to.
We're still in a meeting with the
Okay.
parents, but we're almost done.
Okay.
You want us just to come straight here?
Sure, take your time. We can recess too for 10 minutes or something to give them time. But just on the liaison updates, we had like 40 bills or something at the governance committee the other day at AOC. We talked about as many as we could, but we were after about the 10th no, we were just kind of like, okay, I think we know where this is going. And
Pretty common theme right now with bad bills.
yeah. A bit weird bills too, honestly. Bills that were written by legislators who are no longer in the legislation. And they are being carried forward by whoever got a copy of them.
So speaking of bills, I can't remember the number, so 2238 or.
That died.
Yeah, I was just making sure.
I believe that is dead.
Yeah, it was the reclaiming people's private property.
That was expanding executive authority. A lot of the language in that bill already exists, but that one got a lot of backlash from a lot of bigger groups. So it died pretty
That was
quick.
one of the spookiest bills I've ever seen. Seriously, I mean, the government can go in and take your property.
It's just not the topic of this. It's not something that you would think would be a topic for discussion while the governor is currently in a state of emergency and exercising executive authority over so many different things. It's just not something that you would typically be looking at expanding that executive authority. So it's an emergency power. It very interesting discussion, so that we've been having AOC on all the different bills coming before us. There was one that was going to require and mandate that all elected officials in the state took ICS 100s and ICS 200s as training. All elected officials in the state.
So
Which-
yeah,
Instant command system.
Incident command system training. 100 and 200. It was a bill that was mandating every elected official and government official.
So those
Take it.
classes are taught at fire guard school.
Mhm.
And pretty basic.
Yeah.
Nothing difficult.
It was just a couple hours, I think. I think what number 200 is what, 4-hour training, 5-hour training, or something like that.
What's the status of it?
I think we all voted no on it, but it's still moving. I think actually the legislator pitched it as a conversation starter. I actually don't have a problem with it, and I mean, like you for example, you're an elected official, you've taken it, and it's really basic stuff, like you say. I'm not necessarily opposed to government officials taking that training and learning what ICS is all about, and learning how not to step on toes, and especially in the state of an emergency when ICS system has been deployed. But
I'm sure it has a lot to do with elected officials not knowing how to find their way of how they can communicate with incident command
Yeah.
teams.
who to
or
talk to, kind of thing.
How the process works.
Yeah.
And
Like I said, it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad concept.
Yeah.
But
I want people to know the smooth things go.
right, absolutely. It's just it's hard to. I suggested that you should probably just implement it as kind of a policy training for AOC when we go through like county college as new elected officials and stuff, and League Board of Cities and so forth. But to make it a law that you have to take the 100 and the 200, it's like, well, what's the penalty if I don't? You know, it's like, good luck making them do it. Let's just go ahead and take a recess. If you guys don't have any other liaison updates or anything, go ahead.
Just letting you guys know, I'm meeting with BLM later today.
At 1
I
o'clock.
meet with Fish and Wildlife tomorrow, meeting with the Forest Service on Friday.
Okay.
I've had phone discussions with the head of ODF, Dennis Lee, and I've also talked to Dustin Gustavson. So anyway, getting some of my liaison stuff on the natural resource side. Some of that.
So before we take a recess, jumping quickly to our Ordinance 60 again.
Okay.
It talks about the immediate suspension or refusal to renew licenses. But it doesn't say we can renew licenses whenever we want. It says we can refuse to renew them, but there's nothing in here that says if we feel a party or a business has been taking advantage of the state, we don't have the authority to renew them. We can disallow them to have it, but we can't renew them. And I want to figure out if we can renew licenses, if we have as much authority to renew licenses as we do to oppose the renewal of them.
Yeah, Mr. Bailey's on the phone.
Mr. Bailey?
Yeah.
Are you aware of the ordinance number 60, the Lake County Licensing Program Ordinance for Environmental Health Services?
That sounds familiar.
So what it's basically doing is we can deny immediately
suspend or refusal to renew licenses notice. But do we as a county, have the authority to renew a license that the state possibly has closed
Has closed.
or has closed?
So it's a license that the county has issued and the state, then how would the state,
So like,
terminate license?
like all our eating establishments are inspected by the county. And the license is given through the county, but is paid to the state. And so the state is saying we have the authority under 446.425, 448.100, or ORS 624510. But in this, I'm not seeing where we can renew a license. We can take it away from them. I'm just wondering how much authority we really do have. We have the authority to close them, but I don't see anything where we have the authority to open them.
Yeah, I'm looking at your ordinance now, the ordinance 16, I think that's right. It doesn't appear that you initiate the ordinance, the licensing process, you can terminate it.
Which I really struggle with. I mean, if we have the authority to close them, shouldn't we have that same authority to open them? Or leave them open?
I feel like this is just like giving us the ability to uphold the ruling made by the environmental health specialist. If they say no, this isn't fit for public, then they can appeal it to us, and then we can uphold that ruling
Or deny the ruling?
or deny the ruling.
I'm just struggling with the fact that, you know, our businesses have so much on them right now. And to throw this out there just makes it look like we're coming for them instead of protecting them. And I wanted to see how we as a county can protect our businesses and open our businesses instead of having the authority to close them.
Well, I hear what you're saying there. I don't think you have the authority to reopen them, but you actually, by having the ability to make a ruling on whether or not their license should be rescinded, does give you some control in protecting the businesses, because you can make those findings in their favor. And really, to be honest with you, I think the burden of proof in a situation like this would be, given the serious impact, that there has to be a pretty strong showing, convincing showing that a license needs to be revoked before it should be.
But we would be the ones reviewing that.
Yes, I mean, your section 500 says that the county finds there is a serious danger to the public health or safety and may immediately suspend or refuse to renew a license. Well, it's all in how you're going to interpret and apply the term serious danger.
Right.
So Jim, before you got on, we rescinded our emergency declaration. And the reasons for that is because we have pretty much have what control we could have on the COVID. We're in low, there's no one in the hospital, there's no one on ventilators, we flattened the curve, we've kept our hospital from being overwhelmed. So we didn't really see the need for an emergency declaration right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wanted to give you a heads up on that, and just to see,
Okay.
you know, I'm sure we're gonna get some state blowback. But
Well, like you said, other counties have already rescinded theirs. they rescinded theirs months ago, like a year ago. So, anyway.
Yeah, I think you may get some response from the state, but, you know, I think you're making a strong case that you're acting prudently. And then when the state looks at the facts, the state probably should reclassify Lake County as well.
Okay, do we wanna go ahead and take a quick 10-minute recess? Sure. Just so folks can use the restroom and everything, we'll come back in, at exactly 11:30, and hopefully, Kenny and Jen will be done by then. And then we can finish off with our nuisance, ordinance discussion.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Jim, bye.
Sorry, I'm not hearing you.
No, I'm just,
10 at 11:30. We're gonna continue our discussion. Last item on our list for today on discussion of nuisance ordinance. If you guys want, you're welcome to come up here or sit there wherever you like. And
don't matter.
sounds good. We'll put Kenny on the hot seat right there. That's good. And Kenny, if you need any facts or anything about anything, Jennifer's right back there. She can help you out.
Okay, thanks, Shane.
Alright.
I'm just gonna take some notes, I'm basically gonna listen to you gentlemen, but, Barry, I don't think you've seen some of this. So, on the state level, this was some stuff that the state is not, grab this last sheet here, regulating. So, basically everything outside of white. And this right here is what they took away as well, but can be adopted as ordinance in the county. And then this is what is currently regulated. So if the county wanted to get one of those,
I did.
they would have to be brought into an ordinance.
So, my problem isn't necessarily our ordinances. My problem is how we're handling that abatement. And compared to what our old one was, how the city of Bend does theirs. I think it's on page, did I give you guys this copy? What copy did I just gave you this.
Oh yeah, you gave me that one, yeah. And we have this.
Yeah, so on the abatement options, so like the way we're doing it right now, we've seen doesn't work very well. Is you send out a letter, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then you just send them another letter and another letter if they don't.
Well, I send a letter and,
Is the first letter certified?
but they can deny it. So they don't have to take them, just like the one we're dealing with down by Brad's. They've denied all the years we've sent them. So they can deny it if they want, and it just comes back and sits in our file. But then the next step is either they appeal it to you guys or we abate. But when we don't have any money to abate it, why keep moving forward? You know, Jay has told us, in order to abate something, you gotta find a contractor that has a bond big enough to go onto the property to abate it, and then we have to pay, of course, that contractor to take care of all that. In the meantime, you gotta figure out what's gonna go on with all the vehicles and the different sorts of private property, private things that are on there. So it's kinda just stood there where it's at, because we have $10,000 in our fund, and that's not gonna abate anything.
So I guess what we need to do, so like,
But no, I personally don't go out to the properties and do a lot of the stuff out in the field because I just don't personally have time. you've got to have somebody that's at the office talking to the public, or then you're gonna start having the public mad.
Right.
And on any good day, every day, I at least field about 35 to 40 phone calls just in a day on top of everything else that I'm doing with building permits, septic permits, and everything else that I'm doing. So not going out into the field or being a professional in nuisance and what that person really needs to either A, deem it a nuisance or not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot of legal stuff that I don't think everybody involved realize what it's gonna take.
So,
And that goes all the way down from tall weeds, what I call noxious weeds, garbage. Endless. So from a county standpoint, going forward, I think what commissioners need to think about is actual hiring of a nuisance or code enforcement officer. And it would be full-time, to learn and to go through the process of what actually needs to be done. So they would be in contact with council, they would be in contact with you, they would be in contact with the courts, so on and so forth. They would be receiving those calls. That, you know, the county would set up an actual number to call in. So you guys won't have to be getting the calls. We won't have to be getting the calls. Like I said, I still don't mind as a department head overseeing this portion of it, but I can't do, neither Jennifer or I can do. Going in to see where it's at.
and the problem is that the way it's set up right now, you send a letter, right? And if somebody appeals it, they appeal it to the county commissioners.
Right.
Which brings in its own set of problems.
Right, and my question to you, if they appeal it to you guys and you tell them, let's say you tell them, hey, clean it up, you got 30 days to clean that up, and then they don't. Right now, what would you guys do next?
And I believe the state would allow you to make a board, a separate nuisance board to go in front of. So instead of commissioners, it could be like
Oh, I don't think we need to even do that. The way that I have it pictured in my mind, and kind of the way that the city of Bend is doing it, is they send a letter. People don't work on their property within 10 days, they send a citation. They don't pay the citation, it goes to the court. Court, if they don't take care of the court, then it's put on a lien and turned over to small claims. It should never go before the county commissioners. It just shouldn't, or any other board. We have a court that said that they would see those cases, let them see the cases. And if they appealed to the court, not to the county commissioners,
Yeah,
or to a board.
have any of you talked to the courts to
Yes.
see if they would be?
They would do it. And so
And so then
Because
what
it's
happens with the abatement then if they don't clean it up?
then the next step is the county goes in and cleans it. And that is part of the court case of the money that cost goes into the lien. And so they never pay the lien, it's still on with a we'll turn it over to small claims, that's on their record, right? So whether they pay it or not, that's on their deal. And we're going to have to start abating some of these properties and hope that the fines are enough prior to the abatement to get these people to clean. And we're gonna have to start, just like that property you said, we're gonna have to we're gonna have to start putting our money where the mouth is, otherwise we're gonna continue to be, several properties are gonna be a nuisance.
Right, oh,
I
well,
mean-
yeah, I just don't know where you're gonna get the money to do that, that's what I'm asking. We can't tell somebody we're gonna abate it, but we don't have any money to do that.
So
And then-
hopefully a finding process.
You can put a lien on someone's house, if they never ever sell it, that lien's never gonna be,
It
it's
doesn't,
never gonna be given back.
But on the building side, on the building official side of it, so if a property, if there is a fire life safety on that property, I can address it through the utility department. That's typically what I do now, that people wakes up, they get stuff. So working with a nuisance officer, a code enforcement officer, goes in there, sees piles of trash, and it's covering up an exhaust vent of something, or their electrical panel, there's electrical wires hanging out. I can do it through my side on the building side, as far as that.
Well, even rodents and.
Right. Becomes a nuisance, so there's a fine line there. And some, we all have to think of is, who's in that structure, okay? Is it two people, are kids involved, so on and so forth. I personally would have a problem with shutting off someone's gas, electricity or something with kids involved. Now, adults have no problem. But, on a fire life safety, that would probably be something I'd be asking questions about. Now, if it's a rental, obviously, which is probably gonna be, get hold of who owns the property. And we should matter that way, hopefully.
So I think we already have somebody over on U Street, but everything's shut off already, but they're still there.
No, they had to turn everything back on because of COVID.
And see,
I called the town, and so the water bill right now is $2,000, but they said they got, I don't know, if like the state tells them, they said they had to turn the power back on and the water back on.
and I've had a few vacant places that they've jumpered some electricity in to get it going, which is huge fire hazard. Like I said, I have no problem with it. But on the owner side, maybe if they want to sell property, whatever, it just, because they had no idea how they could get Nevada or Texas or wherever.
I mean, I guess that's why I'm bringing it before you guys, just that wave fake that we've been doing it doesn't work. I understand that, yeah, it's gonna cost some money, but what are we to do? I mean, if we don't,
Well, Jennifer and I would definitely like to have a script written.
of what the procedure is,
Correct.
not just right now, but
But from a commissioner's level down to council level,
Yeah, because in our ordinance right now, in an A2 zone, you can have all the junk you want. That kind of needs to be fixed.
well, yeah, but I mean, even here in the town of Lakeview, you and I, we took a little bit of a drive down, I can't remember what street it was, and I wouldn't say it even if I did. But there was one house with a whole dump truck filled with garbage, basically parked behind it, whole backyard, everything else. We went back kind of down the alleys and everything else. And
the crazy
that's
thing.
not an A2, that's right here in the
Yeah,
town.
that's residential, but
But the
that's
crazy
gonna be how the town deals with that. Of course,
Right.
that's not
The
ours,
crazy
but
one thing about that one is the liability when half a dump truck's out in an alleyway. Takes one drunken whatever, they hit the corner of that dump truck and it's,
Right.
it isn't good. That one was addressed.
and that's a bank foreclosure.
That
So
one was addressed and that was addressed.
It was addressed, okay.
I haven't driven down there lately to
Mm.
make sure anything's done, but
I don't think I drove by it the other day and
still there.
Still there,
That one's a huge, I cannot, because the city knows about that.
yeah. Because
So,
I went
so
over
once
that.
again, to entertain, maybe, between the city side and the county side, whether they want to split the nuisance officer or all that, because on the building side, take care of the whole thing. Whether city, county,
So it's something to definitely entertain.
I'll contact the city to see if they would be. And I know like the city of Paisley, I don't think they have the money to give us anything, but they have their own set of problems too.
Yeah, but something like that between, I would say concentrate on Lakeview itself. As far as the county part of it, you know, it would still be working together, whether I show up on a property or whether the nuisance officer shows up on the property.
Yeah.
You know, as you go up north, I mean, there's,
And
you know,
some,
those issues. I mean, it's not that I still don't deal with. If I'm on a property and they've got those purple thistles and they're 8 feet tall, yes, I'm going to explain to them why those need to go away, why they need to spray.
But you can also partner with Jason Yeager.
And we've entertained that the last couple of years. You know, like I said, I helped Pause and Jason get through some of their stuff, and yes, it would be they would be a great resource to have. It would be a resource where either the owner of the property could go to figure out how someone can come in and spray, whether they or they do it themselves.
and a lot of these properties, you've got violations in land use and violations in nuisance. So this person that's hired needs to be able to also work with the planning department, because a lot of those things could be solved through land use. But that's gotta be brought to the attention of the planner and maybe helped out a little bit to get through the land use portion of it to tackle both of those at once.
Right. And on a county commissioner side and the county side, whatever properties that are foreclosed on, the county retains, you know, it becomes the county's responsibility to make sure that is addressed as well.
So I guess what we need to do is, I guess, contact the town to see if they would do a shared, you know.
We'd be looking at using this person for county operation too, I mean, quite a bit, I mean, there's a lot of properties on the north end. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Oh, it's everywhere. I mean, you're talking from New Pine Creek all the way.
Oh, yeah,
It's-
absolutely, but
it's a big,
I mean,
It's
so
huge.
it's a job.
I don't think I could justify, you know, using that officer for half, you know, or getting half the cost.
I
think you.
think you could,
Yeah, I do
Do you
too.
think so?
yeah,
I do too.
to keep up on it and to,
Yeah, I do too.
yep.
Because what I find out there, and I've had, you know, restaurant people talk to me about it too, you know, that, you know, it's their food, their restaurant, but the neighbors, you know, have all their garbage piled up. So like you said, between the mice and the rats and whatever, come over. So it's not necessarily on their property. The nuisance part is being carried over into someone who's trying to do the right thing.
Right.
Warren Farnham runs the nuisance program down in Alturas, our DEQ guy. He could he could come in here and visit with you guys.
Maybe write some, be some, you know, giving you guys a script, so to speak, you know, and a process. So when you start re-looking at some of these things, isn't just useful for you, but.
I think that's a great idea,
Yeah,
but they need they can't do the job.
right,
They
no,
don't.
I agree.
So I
So
think
yes,
our first,
first deal is talk with the city. Second, decide if you want to, you know, how you want to go about hiring a specific person for this specific. And then when you get to that point, hire that person and get them involved with this, you know, with a.
part of their job would be to get the partnerships with everyone, and then
I mean, we all have resources, you know, I got my resources in Klamath. Earl runs their code enforcement, Julie Deschutes County. So the resources are there to be able to draw from. But the thing right now you need to concentrate on is how you're gonna pay for it, and then the right match for that job.
And so,
And then we could build.
some of our research needs to be, is how is Deschutes County, Klamath County, some of these other places paying for that? And is it self-sufficient by their fines?
Well, yeah, so like Klamath County, so Earl, I think they have a couple people now that the population has grown enough to, whether it's dog, whether it's building, whether it's just regular tall weed nuisance or whatever. They
They have several different people now.
to go through that, yes, to kind of run that part. I mean, he was doing a lot of it just himself, so he was dealing with the horses and he was dealing with
But how are they paying for that?
water rate tax. So part of that was through general fund, part of it was through their building program. And that's how they did it, is they would, so their rent tax or their enforcement part, that they would go investigate, that would be funded portionally through them. So that's what I was kind of getting at with it. If you want to figure out how to split a cost between the county and the city, I would definitely entertain that idea. For initial cost.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, part of it can come out of the general fund that's already being generally funded for nothing. And even though it's 10,000, we had used it. There was a gentleman buying up some foreclosed properties, cleaning them up, and we got to the point where it was like, this guy's having to pay for 600 tires to be, so we helped him out of that general fund because it wasn't being used,
Right.
So that was part of what we thought would be a good thing. He's doing a good thing with cleaning up the property and utilizing it.
Sure.
And helping. So there's that. And then there's ones that just aren't going to comply with it. I mean, we took that out of general fund.
No, because we had $10,000 in the nuisance program,
Nuisance program.
Mhm. which is
coming out of general.
it's in the building program.
No.
It's right there.
But I know that-
I should let her. Come on, kid, come over there.
I know Julie up in Bend, they don't abate very often, because they don't have the money to do it. Now, they do foreclose on stuff, you gotta have your assessor's office involved with that and have them on board to make that stuff go quicker. After so many notices and the courts deciding if we can, it just takes all those legal rounds, you gotta really know a lot of that legal stuff. Obviously, it can be done, but that's all she focuses on, and there's 5 or 6 people working with her. But they deal a lot too. They look on the internet. They look and see who is running an Airbnb, and if those people haven't gone through land use approvals, she's sending them to land use. I mean, they're getting monies like that where we may not look at a lot of those type of things. I mean, she's going at it. They're really looking.
Yeah, you can,
Bend is really.
you definitely have to look at it. Yeah, there's a difference between Deschutes County and the county.
Yeah. Well, and we've got some places that it's just bare land where it's just piled full of junk, so there is no code enforcement as far as the building, there is no fire life safety, there's nobody there, Dave, just piled junk out there.
And it does seem like it should be easy enough to be able to, whether you borrow people from probation or prison or something and, give them a shovel and say start shoveling. Where we're at these days,
I mean, a lot of
One-
that can
one
be done
needle,
through our
one-
communities.
one needle.
Well, see,
one-
that's kind of what we
all
thought, but
dumpsters.
Jay said you cannot, they have to have a bond, they have to have insurance before they go onto property, because if they get injured, they stick a needle in their foot, they cut their hand on some rusty,
So
So-
maybe we need to pay for the bond.
yeah, and so too bad Jay wasn't in
I'd
here
rather
to,
pay for the bond and get free labor.
absolutely,
Depends on what the bond is.
absolutely.
And then work out whatever deal with, the dumpster.
And the dump, I mean, exactly.
Well, alls I know is the way we're doing it isn't working, so we need to figure it out.
I mean, I had tried at one point to see if just with the 10,000 that we do have, use it up through a year. If we can get somebody to bring us, $100 in dump receipts, well, then we match them $100. But then it was kind of talked about, well, people are gonna take advantage of that. Well, I mean, I wouldn't personally take advantage of it. I wouldn't come to you guys and said, so I went to the dump and spent $10 this weekend, you need to give me $10. You know, I think it would help people that really are struggling to do that.
You did that a couple times. I mean,
I only did it with one person.
Just one person.
Yeah,
He was the only
because
person that took
be-
advantage of it.
no, they didn't take advantage. It was because they had, I think there was 12 appliances on the place that was foreclosed and he bought.
Oh.
And I
remember
helped him
this
with
one.
tires one time with Les Schwab. But this guy has bought a lot of foreclosed properties that we have sent nuisance complaints on for years.
Right, and he bought it, and
Yeah.
he was making huge efforts in
Yeah.
cleaning those properties up.
But at that time, it kind of got same,
spending.
yeah,
Right, and out of the landfill and everywhere else, yeah.
yeah. And so we just made that directly to the landfill. It wasn't like we gave the person the money.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
They brought us the receipts,
Yeah, I
we
remember
made that payment to the landfill, and that helped get all those appliances off that property. And that
Compare-
property looks wonderful now.
Yeah. Compared to what it was before.
Yes, and so,
Well, and he's developed it,
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
whole shebang.
Mhm.
And you
He's gone through the process.
Yep.
So just going back, I think the first thing we need to do is find partners in paying for it. And two, I'll get information from Cloud Falls on how they pay for it. And then seriously looking about getting a nuisance officer, what it would cost us, and go from there, because we have to do something.
Getting a set plan in place of how,
What the process is.
what the process is.
yeah, I'm like Mark, you pick one, right. You pick one and follow that. And like Julie said, she knows a lot of counties that have adopted in that book, that property management book,
Mhm.
and follows that.
Yeah, I have that here.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, Julie said to order that. She knows, I ordered it because she
but
said numerous
once
times.
we get somebody on board,
Yep,
they can develop the process.
exactly,
Right.
And,
We can show them examples
yeah.
yep.
that we like.
Mhm. And then bring it back to you and it does have to be adopted into an ordinance.
Sure.
Right,
And I also think it would be good that once we do that we make sure that we do some public announcements, so to speak, and kind of post these things around and let people know.
we did that when we first we did that a lot.
Yeah, I know.
We sent out a letter to every
Every
resident in town, every resident in the county.
Well, I don't know if we wanna do that one.
We sent, we
I
put,
remember that didn't go over very well.
we sent all those out,
Yeah. But, at least posting things and some of the,
yeah. And I agree, like Mark said, you hire this person and it's the person that makes the decision on the abatement. It's the person that
Right.
makes the decision on how to go, not bring every one of them to you guys and bog you down.
absolutely.
It's
not,
just,
right.
Yeah,
then we become the nuisance officers.
exactly.
And we don't
Nope.
have time to be the nuisance officers.
Mm-mm.
But on the other hand, people are buying a house and then a neighbor moves in and starts piling junk there, and it isn't fair. It
I
isn't
know.
fair. And
I know.
it's gonna improve economic development. Every property we clean up, better in the county looks as a whole.
Oh, absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Anything further? With that, I guess, we'll adjourn the meeting at, about 3 minutes to noon. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Got you in on your hard